Hello and welcome to Verified First's exclusive webinar, How to Reverse the She-cession and Recruit, Retain, and Advance Women, where we'll explore strategies and techniques to reverse this she-cession with an emphasis on recruiting, retaining, and advancing women in the workforce. We'll also explore how background screening plays a key role in diversity and inclusion. We're excited to be partnering with Clear Company for today's discussion and invite your questions and comments as we go along. I'm Jess Rowe, the Partner Marketing Manager here at Verified First, and have the pleasure of talking to our very own HR recruiting specialist, Sydney Bender. How are you doing, Sydney?
Hi, Jess. I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing great. Well, before we dive in, we just have a couple of housekeeping items. Today's session will be recorded, and we'll be sending out a recording afterwards. Sydney, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so name's Sydney. I'm a recruiter. I also dabble in some of the employee relations side of HR. I really enjoy my job. A big part of it is sourcing through candidates, interviewing, really owning that candidate experience, making the hires and onboarding. I'm somewhat new to the HR world. I received my bachelor's in human resource management from Boise State in May and joined recruiting shortly after. So I've learned a lot in the last 6 months as recruiting continues to evolve more than it ever has before. And I'm really excited to be here and talk about such an important topic.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sydney. Well, let's go ahead and get started. As I mentioned, I'm Jess Rowe with Partner Marketing here at Verified First. Can you define for us, Sydney, as we get kicked off, the she-cession and put it into context in today's corporate world?
Yeah, so we're hearing the word, she-cession more and more to describe the coronavirus-induced recession. And I do want to start by calling out, yes, the pandemic is impacting everyone, not only women, but we're seeing this economic downturn where job and income losses are unfortunately affecting women more than men. In the corporate world, work counts more than anything. And due to the pandemic causing this economic downfall, we're seeing a transition where work is no longer the most important. It's now the safety of our children, partner, ourselves, which is really how it should have been this whole time, but it's taking a global pandemic for us to realize that and reprioritize our life. So, the 46 states that were forced to close their schools doors and 50% of daycare centers that couldn't stay open demanded who to be forced to quit their job in order to take care of their family, women in most cases. And women are maxed out, and that's really where the she-cession comes into play.
Absolutely, you made some great points there, and especially as we're progressing as a society and incorporating more women into the workplace and adjusting for the needs of families. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the factors that have led to today's she-cession?
So I would say to, point out the obvious, COVID-19 and the increased societal pressure on women with schools and daycares being shut down, balancing that family life and added commitments to that. I saw a statistic according to the Bureau of Labor, certain industries such as retail services, hospitality, food, etc., where women are the majority, they were impacted due to the pandemic more so than other industries where the jobs are held predominantly by men, like manufacturing and construction.
Absolutely. Promoting women in the workplace has been a bit of a battle, but many organizations are making more progress, which is fantastic. What trends have you seen over the years around female recruitment and retention techniques?
So, and it makes me sad that it's even a topic because it shouldn't be a battle for organizations to promote women in the workplace, but it's something that is very real. And this could be a problem all around that very few in general are being promoted, or it's that companies are guilty of the gender discrimination and only promoting men or favoritism could play a big part. But again, I can't believe this is something we even have to talk about. I saw that Pinterest recently settled a $20 million gender discrimination case in 2020 involving their female COO after being filed after discussion mistreatment. But back to recruitment and retention techniques. Some trends I have seen that have seemed to help with organizations are partnering with different organizations that are women-ran businesses and getting involved with them. Personally, I work in the tech industry, and recruiting women in this industry is even more of a challenge because there are significantly fewer women to select from. So I have to come up with creative recruiting strategies. I have found going to women-specific job fairs, or even have a woman in tech recruiting events. And we have one of those in Idaho, and that's been really helpful. I've worked with a company called Codeworks that is led by a woman, and we have done mock interviews with them, and a good portion of our engineering team is from connecting with them. So connecting with women on LinkedIn and your socials, so that when you do post about jobs, they can see it and even share it with their own network. When it comes to retention, actively develop women as leaders, promote women within, show your others in your organization that you are proud to have women in management. And it really comes down to have that open door policy. Ask them, what challenges are you facing, and address those accordingly. At the end of the day, it comes down to supporting and giving women confidence, similar to the racial equality piece. Having that conversation is a big first step. So being open to the suggestions and know that what you're doing, you might not have all the right answers, and that's okay, but actively working towards getting those.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're incorporating technology into that as well, utilizing LinkedIn and networks to share those opportunities as they come up. So Sydney, I'd love to hear from you. How did COVID-19 affect these aspects?
Yeah, and I try to see the good and everything bad, and the pandemic affected these aspects in both a very negative way, but also in a weird way, a positive way. The job fairs and in-person events were closed, and a face-to-face in-person interview is almost unheard of now. But with all of that came the advancement of technology and recruiting. We are now utilizing Zoom and Google Hangouts, what we're doing right now, as if they're second nature to us. And we can recruit all over the country or even the world. I have hired employees in almost 25 different states in the 6 months of me being here. So, companies that can offer that remote work gain a competitive advantage in hiring. And the pandemic forced recruiting to evolve as it has never before.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. And I love that you're taking a positive and optimistic approach on something that has been so negative. So great to hear that you're taking that on. How are HR and TA professionals facilitating change in their organizations?
I think it really is looking past the masculinity and hiring the best candidates while making sure to bring in, I think a huge aspect of it is variety. Bring in a variety of perspectives, backgrounds, and opinions, and always hire the most qualified person for the role.
Yeah, definitely. That is important. And to, provide a flip side of that, how are they falling short?
In today's economy, everyone is hiring, and there's that pressure there on recruiters to get positions filled quickly. Where talent acquisition coordinators can go wrong is feeling that pressure and just letting anyone into a position, or putting anyone into a position to fill an empty chair, even if it's not the right fit for the organization. Instead, recruiters should be looking at the qualifications and studying the candidate's background in order to make sure they are the right person for that role. And not doing this will increase turnover, increase costs for the company, and most importantly, you won't be seeing that variety in perspectives and backgrounds that you should be looking for.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that around those topics. I'd love to transition us over to, the customized employee experiences. So how does the employee experience impact reversing today's she-cession?
The employee experience is everything to reversing the she-cession. And I think it all falls on the company adapting and understanding that the employee experience is evolving, and it's going to continue to evolve. It's no longer a 9 to 5 in an office setting. If your current employees aren't happy with where they're at, they're going to leave and find somewhere that will make them happy. For example, if your employees want the flexibility of working from home and you are in an industry where that is doable, but you aren't allowing it, your employees are going to go find a company where they can work from home because so many are doing it. And company culture really plays a huge part in this. Having a collaborative, positive, diverse culture is going to foster an inclusive environment where employees want to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. So given that, what does an equal employee experience look like?
The difference here is it's equity, not equality. So it's access to what people need. It's not the same across the board for everyone. People are going to need different resources or opportunities in order for them to reach an equal outcome as another. So determining what these resources are is important, and understanding the difference between equity and equality is huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with that in mind, how has the employee experience been limited for women employees?
I think in the past, advancement opportunities were created based on how late you stayed at the office. And this isn't always an option if you have childcare that ends at 6 p.m. or events to go to. With COVID and remote work, it's much less about being present and much more about being productive wherever and whenever that is.
Yeah, definitely. It's important to take into account those outside factors outside of work as well. So recently, how has COVID-19 further limited their experience?
COVID-19 has increased the pressure on working mothers, single mothers, low-wage women. I could go on. Some were, being forced to quit their jobs because there was nobody to take care of their family, and their employees. I wouldn't even say it was limited, but their experience was completely taken away altogether.
Yeah, yeah. And it's things like that that really make it so that HR and TA and organizations as a whole do need to be more progressive and change. So what efforts can HR and TA make to develop an employee experience that includes women in the workplace?
Talk to them about what they need. Revise your benefits program. And of course, that needs to make business sense. Know your people. If 75% of the staff are young parents, childcare makes sense. If for other companies, maybe, an insurance plan or a 401k match may be more important. Ensure women are being included in key decisions and are in influential positions. We, have already talked about it a little bit, but promoting within and actually doing that and showing others that you support the women in your workplace.
Definitely. It's important to pay attention to those key factors that are actually meaningful to women and the demographic that you're looking at within those women, like you had mentioned with millennials or maybe women with children, being understanding of those components and why it's important to have them. So what are some of the factors that can contribute to a positive employee experience for women in the workplace? Given that you just talked about childcare, things like that.
This is where revision of your benefits program comes into play. Having childcare available or paying for it, flexible scheduling and workplace setting balance. If you are going to require your employees to come into the office, have a weekly expectation of time in the office versus the ability to do remote. My question really is, we have all of these tools to be able to work remotely and continue to collaborate and work in a team. And I know that, some of these industries are specific where that won't work, but why does it matter where the employee is working from? They should just be able to, meet their goals and expectations. And if that's happening, that should be good enough. It shouldn't matter where they're at or when it's at.
Yeah, I appreciate that point of view for sure. Let's talk about ongoing education and mentorships. So what role does ongoing education and mentorships play in the employee experience for women?
Yeah, this topic is huge. Ongoing education and investing in your employees is so important, and in turn is going to give back to the company. Say you have an employee that, wants to take a class or get a certificate. By personally and financially investing in them, the skills they will learn are going to make them a better employee, resulting in a more successful company. Those shared experiences, mentorship, and community is important as well. So, the employee has a person to ask those candid questions to that's not their manager or boss.
Yeah, having an advocate for them outside of just their direct supervisor, that's super crucial. So what can HR do to catalyze a system with more opportunities for women within the company?
Accept that gender diversity is a priority, diversify management, support professional development, again, both personally and financially, offer a flexible work environment and schedule if doable, and work with the team to establish goals for improving gender diversity.
Yeah, definitely. And what type of mentorship programs are commonly available in organizations?
A few that I have seen that are really important are one of them being developmental career mentoring programs, meaning partnering an exec or senior position with a junior level employee and helping them roadmap their career. I think another one, having a diversity focused mentoring program is really important for women and unrepresented groups. It builds more equality and will help foster having those different perspectives and opinions that come from all sorts of backgrounds. I think, another one that's really important is when there's a new manager, having a mentorship program to develop their management skills that they can thrive in their roles. This will better serve the team and company all around.
Absolutely. And to provide a bit of context there, how do they traditionally favor men?
What I would say, well, most of these programs that I mentioned include a senior level position, and if companies don't have women in their executive positions, they aren't going to be part of these mentorship programs. So it's just another reason why it's important to promote women in the workplace.
Yeah, so given that, how can an organization go about creating a mentorship program that actually is equal between gender identities?
I think it's a few things. I think it's ensuring leadership positions include women, wide advertising, outreach is huge, and making sure certain people are included who could enrich in the programs.
And how can ongoing education and mentorship programs actually improve diverse recruiting efforts?
The biggest thing here is making sure the programs are both constructive and productive. We're always learning about new things and bettering ourselves. And if you aren't, you should be. But professional development is strong and highlights a good work ethic. It's progressive to not only the company, but yourself.
Definitely. How should equality initiatives be presented to candidates by TA professionals? Given that there are certain areas and circumstances where we can have the opportunity to present opportunities for women to get these jobs. So how should equality initiatives be presented to those candidates?
I think it should be highlighted as a key aspect of the company to bring up in the first interview. It should be something that's almost bragged about, and I brag about it all the time. And outreach from, talent acquisition professionals, more communication and what to expect is important. Even more so, personal experiences or testimony, I think would be even more meaningful.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Well, let's move on and talk a little bit about tech within diversity and inclusion. So we know diversity and inclusion is really an ongoing process that requires thoughtful and intentional actions and decisions. So do you have any ideas or suggestions on what data metrics can be used to measure the success of DE&I initiatives?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot out there. Data and metrics drive everything we do. So it's really important to think about what will measure your success. You know, maybe your companies may not realize that your diversity and inclusion initiatives aren't working until you actually pull a report and see it for yourself. Some metrics you can use are looking at the diversity of your employees versus your applicant pool. If your applicant pool is much more diverse than your employees, maybe it's an indication there is bias in your recruiting process. Yield ratios are a great tool to confirm this. If you are, you know, if you look at diversity across organization levels and your entry level team is very diverse, but your leadership team isn't, maybe you need to look at how you're promoting within your organization. I think it's really taking a look at different metrics and being honest with yourself, and the organization will help measure success and promote any changes that need to be made once you do that.
Yeah. I love the idea of looking within your organization as well, not just the candidate pool. So any ideas on measuring the healthiness or the success of HR and TA alignment?
Measuring the healthiness and success of just human resources and talent acquisition efforts can be done by gathering 360-degree feedback, looking at what percentage of employees are actually trained in company policies. And I think a huge one is looking at salary competitiveness. Are you paying your employees competitively compared to the market for the position? Looking at, you know, employee demographics and the diversity rate. Those all play a huge part in measuring success and making sure you have a healthy alignment all around.
Yeah, absolutely. So how often should you measure the success of DE&I initiatives, and how can you stay on track with your goals?
I think measuring the success of diversity and inclusion should be done all the time. It should always be something that is talked about and implemented. Looking at reports and metrics, I would say twice a year to make sure you are staying on track with your goals. But again, something that you're always thinking about. Also making sure you are constantly updating and changing your goals to evolve with society and the world we live in as we evolve.
Definitely. Well, we all know a lot has changed in the last few years. So for those of you in the audience joining us today, we'd love to get your input here with a quick poll question around technology and how that ties into diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So we'll go ahead and launch this, and we would love to get your input. So what areas of technology are you looking to replace within the next year? And this is one of those select all that apply in your situation. So you have your ATS, your CRM, background screening assessments, or maybe you're not considering making any replacements within the next year. Again, we'd love to hear from all of our audience today. So if you are willing and able to participate, it would be very interesting to see, and we'll share the results afterwards as well, just so everyone can get an idea of where their peers and colleagues are at. We'll give it just a couple more seconds here. Looks like we're super close to getting everyone participating. Wonderful. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and close out the poll. So this is your last chance to vote if you have not voted, and then we'll go ahead and share the results. Well, it looks like in large, people are not considering any replacements, which means that a lot of people are content with their tech stack. So very interesting to view those. Thank you for participating. Well, let's change gears a little bit. Stephanie, could you show us how Verified First works in Clear Company's platform and how that streamlines DE&I initiatives for employers?
Yeah, Jess, I'd love to do that. Hello, everybody. Thanks for attending this webinar. Hope you've gotten a lot of good information out of it. And yeah, I just want to quickly demo the integration that we have, because Verified First is very big on, making everybody's process as smooth and easy as possible. So with everything that TA and HR is having to go through nowadays with just the hiring and onboarding process, we definitely don't want to be a roadblock. So I want to first show you how quick and easy it is to download our extension. You can simply go to your web browser's store, search for Verified First, and then you'll have an option here to add that to Chrome or whatever the prompt is for the web browser that you're using. Once that's downloaded, it takes probably under a minute to do so. The integration is ready to go within Clear Company's platform. So hopping over here into our test applicant Hank Mess, you will see this. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we can't see your screen.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let's back up here. There we go. Sorry about that, everybody. So just real quick over here, searching in your web store and then downloading the extension. We'll get the integration going within a few minutes. And so now in Clear Company's platform, you'll see our test applicant, Hank Mess, and then you'll notice this screen with Verified First button over here. If you choose the option that says place new order, our portal extension will come out. So now you have the information side by side on one screen. Don't have to open up another tab, log into another system. It'll be right here available for you. What's really nice about this as well is some fields will get pre-populated for you. So now you don't have to spend time manually entering in the applicant's information and even risk some data entry errors. You can simply just verify that everything did get pulled over and fill in any applicable fields that are required. And then from here, if you choose the send invite option, you will then be able to electronically send a link to the individual's email and even their phone number via text message. What's going to happen from there is the applicant will click on that link, electronically sign all the disclosure and authorization forms, and then they will fill in the rest of their personal information, such as Social Security, physical address, date of birth. We've also found that if you do send that link via text message, it shaves off around 8 hours of the turnaround time from when the background screen is initiated to when it's fully completed. So definitely worth your while to try and reach the applicant through as many avenues as possible. And the text message one seems to have the best response. And so from there, after you send that off, it'll be in the applicant's hands to fill everything out before we officially start running the searches. But you can also check back on the status of it as well. You'll see that button has changed to waiting on applicant. So you can see that you still need to get some information back before you can proceed. You will be notified as well when that report is fully completed and be able to view that from the extension also. So that's pretty high level, quick and easy way to show our integration. We'd love to hear from you guys if you have any questions specifically around this. If we can't get to answer all of your questions here in the webinar, then we'll have some contact information where you can reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to set up a call with you and answer all of your questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Stephanie, and just how quick and easy and seamless that integration is. Again, if you have questions, now's the perfect time to ask those. Looks like we had a couple come in. What does pricing look like?
That's a great question. We definitely get asked that often. What we like to do is really take a customized approach for all of our clients. We definitely don't want to put everybody in one bucket and say, here's the searches that you would need to run in order to get this price. We like to take a white glove approach, really learn about the needs of that organization and the searches that they're going to need to conduct, and then tailor pricing to what's going to fit for them. So unfortunately, we don't have, a set price amount, but we're definitely willing to work with each of the organizations to fit what's going to work best.
Yeah, thank you for answering that, Stephanie. We had another one come in. How does this system work around federal standards?
Probably would need a little bit more clarification on that question. If you're talking about like federal searches, we definitely can conduct that. So I think we might need a little bit more to that question. That would be something really great to set up a call around, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another question here. Does Verified First collaborate with the Department of Health Services around background checks for the healthcare industry?
We do offer searches for the healthcare industry as far as the Medicare, Medicaid exclusion. So we most likely will be able to fulfill those searches that you're looking for if it's healthcare related.
Awesome, thank you. How long does it typically take for background checks to come back?
Great question. That answer is always kind of fluid. I'll give you on average, it's around, I'd say 2 business days, depending on what you're ordering. Some things are out of our control. If we are going to a particular county that maybe someone has to go physically into the records room and see if there's records on an individual, going to take a little bit longer if a county has electronic database. So we will always make our clients aware if there's any anticipated delays on getting the report back, just so you're up to date and you know. But on average, it's around 2 business days, could be much less if there's not a whole lot of searches that need to be done.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing that. We have another question. What about child abuse and neglect registry searches for each state?
That is one of the searches that we do not conduct. We really are only providing records when there is actual convictions that were placed. So that is one of the few that we do not handle.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. Well, it looks like those are all the questions we have, and we're at the end of our time today. Thank you so much for joining us. Sydney got some great insight around the She-cession and how to effectively attract and retain and really develop women in the workplace. So thank you so much for joining us, Sydney. And thank you, Stephanie, for walking us through the integration with Clear Company's platform.
You're welcome. Thanks, Jess.
Thanks, Jess.
Awesome. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. Have a wonderful weekend.